They travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gone Racin.
Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here in the studios at the South Point Hotel Casino, the beautiful VSiN studios. My partner in crime, Brendan Gaughan, is joining me from a dock somewhere if you're looking at us on video right now. BG, what's going on? Where are you?
I'm actually out in Florida. I'm at Daytona. Isn't this week Daytona week?
No, you're a couple weeks early.
Missed it by that much.
Just missed it.
My son Michael is actually at NASA Space Camp right now, and so I came all the way out here. We're sitting in Cape Canaveral for Michael to do space camp, and really cool, Motley. This morning they had a shuttle launch at 6:30 this morning. We got to go to the beach, watched all the years we've been coming to Daytona, never seen a live shuttle launch. Got to watch a live shuttle launch. Super cool.
I didn't even know they were still launching the shuttles down there. We didn't see that on the news out here.
SpaceX is there, NASA's still there. And so is Blue Origin. They're all right, still have all their launch pads out there. It's actually the first time ever in history. There's a launch at 7 o'clock tonight. First time, 2 in one day. So they came to give me a show. Michael went to space camp, and they came to give me a show.
You got a little more horsepower going on down there than what we do on our racing world.
Call me.
All right, well, we got to talk a little racing. One little news item for this week. Kurt Busch, again, is out at Michigan, still dealing with the concussion syndromes. Ty Gibbs is going to be in for him. Brendan, Kurt's now missed. This is going to be his third race. We got 3 more races before the playoffs. He's probably hoping as much as anyone that we don't get 3 winners in these next 4 races.
Well, look, I'm sure NASCAR will give him a waiver for what has happened for the non-race fan. NASCAR, if you miss a race, you technically can't make the playoffs. NASCAR's given medical waivers now. Kurt absolutely will be eligible for one of those. I'm just more worried that my buddy's going to be okay. Missing this many weeks, that's what matters to me at this point. Playoffs are playoffs, but I just hope my buddy Kurt's doing well and feeling better and getting better day by day. That's what I'm hoping for. So let's just keep our fingers crossed on that. We'll talk about playoffs when he comes back.
Yeah, he's one of our favorite guys. So personally, way more than the racing part, it doesn't matter. He's a good dude. We like Kurt. So, well, let's talk about last weekend's race at Indianapolis. For a while there, Martin Truex Jr. was Mr. Road Course, and then Chase Elliott became Mr. Road Course. Was Tyler Reddick now becoming Mr. Road Course? He's won the last 2 road course races, and he was, without a doubt, the best car on the last 2 road course races.
Well, not only won the last 2, but was top 5 for the 2 before that. He has been really consistent on these. Where this came from, Jeff, I don't know if we have any clue, but way to go to Tyler. Just putting it on him. And great timing for him, right? Peaking at the right time. And we were talking before the show, hey, what gets you into the championship round? What's the big wild card round of all the playoffs? Oh, that's right, that 3rd round going to the championship, which has the Roval in it. So right now, I think Tyler Reddick hoping to get himself through them first couple rounds and then looking forward to that Roval.
Well, no, I think you're exactly right. We've got 1 more road course left here in the regular season at Watkins Glen coming up in a couple of weeks. So Watkins Glen could give him a chance to get even more playoff points going into those playoffs. So he's certainly riding a lot of confidence. He was a 10-1 favorite to win that race last week, plus 250 for a top 3, plus 215 to win Group B. He was minus 135 head up against Austin Cindric, and a plus 650 to be the top Chevy. So definitely some cash to be made on Tyler Reddick there on the road course. I have a feeling we're going to see his odds start to drop when we get to Watkins Glen and the Roval.
And look, a lot of guys ran well that did not finish there. But, when you're talking cash and tickets, a 10-1 win, a top 3 is 250. How about that top Chevy at 650? The only reason he's down at 650 is because you have Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, which up until this point had been 2 of our best road racers in the sport. So that's why he was 650. So great return if you took him in the best Chevy.
And looking at our top 10 from last week, Austin Cindric, not a big surprise, plus 350. But get this, a $250 250 to 1 shot for a top 3. Harrison Burton, by far the best run of his career. Another rookie, Todd Gilliland, coming in 4th. Bubba Wallace, a guy who hates road course racing, who admitted after the race, he goes, look, everybody else got wrecked out in front of us, so we just survived. We were lucky. Gets a top 5 on a road course. No big surprises to see Joey Logano, last year's winner, A.J. Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, a good road course racer, Cole Custer, and Chris Buescher, who seems to run well every time we go to these road courses, rounded out the top 10. But, man, how about that run for both Harrison Burton and for Todd Gilliland?
Yeah, I mean, you look at, Roger Penske. I mean, that Penske, of course, owns Indy now. There's Austin Cindric bringing home a top 3, and Harrison Burton, Woods Brothers, Penske, kind of, same gig, coming home with a top 3. Joey Logano, 6th. I mean, good day for the Penske folks. And I know Roger would have loved that one last spot, but great day for Tyler Reddick. And 250, not plus 250, 250 to 1 for a top 3. I know I wasn't on the show last week. I have a feeling you didn't give Harrison Burton much of a shot at 250 to 1 for a top 3.
I think I stopped reading the numbers at 100 to 1. I don't even think we got to the 250 to 1. And speaking of long shots, we talked about Reddick at plus 650 for the top Chevy and Cindric at plus 310 for the top Ford. Bubba Wallace, 100 to 1 to be the top Toyota. Now, like every other top Toyota was like 10 to 1 or better. Bubba Wallace came in at 100 to 1 and ended up being the best finishing Toyota. And he may not have been the best Toyota on the track. Christopher Bell, I think, was certainly the best Toyota in the race all day long, who had a flat tire late in the race. But still, Bubba survives for a 5th place finish and 100 to 1 as a top Toyota.
Well, and look, I said this a couple weeks ago about when Bubba went from 100 to 1 to a plus. I think the next race was like a Talladega, and he went to a plus, 400. And I said Bubba has those big swings, and that's what's hurting him right now on that Toyota campus. He's the only one that goes from that big of a swing to that big of a swing. I lost out. I really thought Ty Gibbs was going to have a better day in that 2311 Racing Toyota. I thought he was going to do a little bit better, but still came home with a solid day for a kid in his 2nd race ever. But Bubba Wallace, way to go. I mean, that's big. He needs more of those days right there, Motley.
Yeah, I agree. And you talked about Ty Gibbs. Back in the day, guys could step from the Xfinity Series over into the Cup Series and make a pretty quick transition. But I think this new car is so different, the Cup car is, from the Xfinity car. He has no opportunity to practice, really, other than what he gets at the racetrack, which we know is about 20 or 30 minutes. He has no opportunity to test in the offseason like, say, Austin Cindric did, and, coming into this year being able to do that. So it's really a new frontier for Ty Gibbs, who's really having to kind of learn on the fly. It's really kind of a tough situation for him.
Well, look, the good thing is these kids have these simulators. At least a guy like Ty is really used to the simulator. So, I mean, I'm sure he's in that thing nonstop, but it's still not the same. I mean, I'm sorry. I know the kids proved me wrong about how well they learned the last couple of years since COVID, how well they've been able to get into it. But, he's getting no laps and just thrown in there dry. So good job to him. Kudos to him. Way to go. And proud of him for at least stepping in. But way to go, Bubba. That's awesome.
Yeah, one more thing about last week's race before we move on to where we are in the standings as the season is winding down. We talked a little bit off the air before we hopped on here about the penalty on Ross Chastain. He went into turn 1. He clearly realized, I ain't making turn 1 with all these cars here. So he took the escape route, if you will, which they were told in the driver's meeting, if you miss turn 1, take the escape route. I don't think it was designed to make up positions. So what do you make of, there really wasn't a rule, but then they penalized both he and Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon also got a 30-second penalty.
I've never seen, I don't care what you say, I've never been to a racetrack where if you used an alternate escape route or missing a chicane that you did not have to self-penalize, or that you had to at least take some penalty if you missed it. So I don't care the reasoning. That's always been the rule. So the fact he did, but what I was looking at was 2 weeks ago, he was 25, 30 points behind Chase Elliott for the points lead. You look at it now, Chase Elliott has absolutely just destroyed the last 4 races. The field, just commanding lead for the points now over Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain for that second and third spot. So Chase has done a phenomenal job in the last bunch of races, just stacking up points.
Well, let's just talk about our standings right now. We've got 14 winners. We only have 4 races to go. So in order for someone who's won a race now to get bumped out, we're going to have 3 new winners in the last 4 races. Now, we know Kevin Harvick won 4 out of 5 here at where we're going this week at Michigan. If Blaney wins or Truex wins, that really doesn't affect a person like Kurt Busch, who we know with Kurt missing these races, he's certainly going to be the last guy, in the standings. So what do you thought? I mean, I don't think we're going to get to 17 myself. What do you think?
Listen, anything can still happen. We've had some great winners this year. This is a week that, Stuart Haas has not been strong all season, and this is a track they're really strong at. And I said Denny Hamlin a minute ago, I meant Ryan Blaney is second in points by 4 points. But, I mean, how about this? Kevin Harvick and Stuart Haas come out, have a great weekend here, win this one. That puts Martin Truex out, who's only in 4th in points, puts him out of the playoffs. Then you go to Daytona, and you end up with some random guy winning at Daytona. Bubba Wallace comes in and gets another W at Daytona. Now, Ryan Blaney is out of the playoffs, and he is second in points. So, I mean, this is going to be tough for these guys down the stretch. I think it's exactly what NASCAR wanted when they did it. But I think this is super cool, and I think it shows the parity of this new car.
Well, and I think if you're Martin Truex right now, I mean, obviously you're trying to win races. You're also racing Ryan Blaney a little bit. He's only 25 points behind Ryan Blaney. And I think if you're sitting there saying to yourself, okay, look, yeah, there could be 2 different winners, but I don't really think there's going to be 3. So I got to believe that's where his focus a little bit is like, I got to try to get ahead of Blaney in these races.
Well, 2 winners sends both of them home. Don't forget, if Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola, Bubba Wallace go win at Daytona, all it takes is 2 winners for those guys to be second and third in points to not make it. It doesn't throw somebody out that had a win, but it only gives you 2 winners to send home second in points and third place in points. Well, so that's the tough part.
Right, and we've got a variety in these last 4 regular season races. We've got Michigan this week, a short track at Richmond. Then we've got Watkins Glen. Then we've got Daytona. So we come back on Gone Racing. It's going to be time for us to start breaking down this weekend's race at Michigan Speedway. Michigan, very similar to what we see at Auto Club Speedway out in Fontana. We'll be right back on Gone Racing. Welcome back to Gone Racing. Jeff Motley alongside Brendan Gaughan joining us remotely from Space Camp down in beautiful Florida on the Atlantic coast, about an hour south of the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. And Brendan, we put a nice little bow on the road course at Indianapolis. This weekend, we move a little bit farther north than Indianapolis, move up into the Irish Hills of Michigan, Michigan Speedway, a track that for years and years and years we race twice a year on. This is the second year. We've only had 1 race at Michigan. I guess this is really the track we really compare most to Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. Roger Penske built both of them, 2-mile sweeping D-shaped ovals. Is there any really other track that we look at we compare this to, or it's just an Auto Club in Michigan or kind of a class of their own?
They're their own classification of racetrack. And the thing is about Michigan, it's ever since they did such a good job repaving. It hasn't grown wider yet like we see at the other tracks as they age out, which has been kind of a bummer for Michigan. But we do have this new car. We do have a race to go on. And when I start giving you stats here in a minute, Motley, we're going to talk a lot about California Speedway. And it's a long time ago in the season, though. But that's the only stat I got to go on this new car.
One of the interesting things, though, about the difference between the 2 tracks to me, we saw Kyle Larson win at Auto Club Fontana in the spring. We didn't have a race the previous year. Before that, we had Alex Bowman winning. We had Kyle Busch winning a lot of races there. So there's a theme here. We had Chevys, we had Toyotas. But when we go to Michigan, it has been completely dominated by Fords. Ryan Blaney won the race at Michigan last year. Kevin Harvick won on a streak where he won 4 out of 5. And I can remember in the day when it seemed like Jack Roush pretty much had an apartment in Victory Lane because he knew he was going to be there every race. So what do you think the difference is between those 2, while the Fords have been so good at Michigan, but it's been the Chevys and Toyotas at Fontana?
I think a lot of it's just manufacturer pride. They spent a lot of money trying to get up on that race, and that's the biggest difference. And then California had those seams they hadn't repaved forever. It made the track a little different, but I think it was more the manufacturers really wanted you to win over at Michigan. It's in all their backyards. They used to really, I remember when those were big battles. I mean, that was mean battles. Like manufacturers didn't like each other when it came to Michigan.
Well, before we get into the odds for this weekend, kind of look back a little bit at what happened earlier this year at Auto Club. Kyle Larson got his only win of the season at Auto Club, but he really wasn't the dominant car at all. In fact, he had a very spirited battle with both his teammate Chase Elliott that left some hard feelings for a couple of weeks late in that race, and he had to pass Daniel Suarez, but the guy that dominated the race was Tyler Reddick, who won the first two series, ended up having a flat tire. So what do we draw from Fontana that we think we're going to take into Michigan?
If you look at it, it was Kyle Larson first, Austin Dillon second, Eric Jones third, Daniel Suarez, all Chevrolets at the top of the field. It's tough because, like you said, Fords have dominated this track notoriously, and Fords have done really well at some of the Phoenix-style racetracks. This early in the season, have people gained on it since then? I'm going to have to go and say that we haven't had a track like this. I'm going to say the Chevrolets are going to go back to be dominant today. I'm going to think it's bucked the trend that Fords do well here and kind of lean heavy on the data and say data says Chevys are tough to beat here.
Well, and honestly, the Fords have really kind of struggled this year. They have not been nearly as strong. I mean, we haven't seen –
except on places like Phoenix.
Exactly. Well, Chase Briscoe got the win at Phoenix, and, of course, that race is going to matter. But you got to be in those Final Four when you get to Phoenix, or it doesn't matter how well you run at Phoenix. All right, let's start taking a look at our odds for this week. Our favorite is Chase Elliott, our points leader, at plus 600. Kyle Busch at plus 650. Kyle Larson, we just mentioned he won at Fontana's plus 700. Denny Hamlin plus 750. Ross Chastain plus 900. Then you've got William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and last year's winner Ryan Blaney all at 12-1. Martin Truex Jr. and Christopher Bell at 15-1. Joey Logano 20. Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, and Bubba Wallace all at 25-1. Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Dillon, who finished second at Fontana, at 50-1.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I go off of the race from California back in March this year, man, I'll tell you what, that Daniel Suarez 25-1 jumps out. That Austin Dillon 50-1 jumps out. Even the Eric Jones 25-1, he finished third in that race. So, I mean, a lot of Chevrolets that I like with big numbers right there. Even the Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, those still 600 to 700. That's a decent number for a win. So you want to take, you want to go a little chalk heavy, take Chase and Kyle Larson right there. You got the two best Chevys in the field, the two guys that were going to win that race with a couple laps to go. You still get a decent return on them.
Well, I'm liking Reddick being a double-digit guy at 12-1, and last year's winner Ryan Blaney being 12-1, a guy who's feeling a little desperate right now too. So definitely some good numbers out there. It's some of the longer shots here. Eric Almirola, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Hill making his Cup Series debut this week. All are coming in at 100-1, and I wouldn't go any farther, but last week we had a 250-1 in the top three. Harrison Burton, Cole Custer, 250. Ty Dillon, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie, and Noah Gragson will be running this race at 500-1.
I mean, if I really want to talk about anybody on this page, maybe we'll talk more about in the top threes. But Austin Hill is in an RCR Chevy, which finished second and dominated that race in California. You've got Justin Haley at 500, Noah Gragson, both in those Kaulig cars, a la cars that, were Childers cars. And in that California race, oh, by the way, Daniel Hemrick in the Kaulig number 16 finished ninth. So, there's some reason to say, hey, maybe not win, but let's get to the top threes and talk about it.
Well, and for race fans that maybe have just followed the Cup Series, especially bettors who only bet on the Cup Series, we know this is a debut for Austin Hill. Austin Hill is very well accomplished in the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, maybe not quite at Ty Gibbs' success level in terms of winning races, but he has won a championship in the Truck Series, I believe. And Austin Hill is definitely a guy out there who knows what he's doing. So while people don't know him, I think they're going to hear his name a lot more, and you think he's got to be being groomed to replace Tyler Reddick at Childress.
Yeah, I think that's why he's up there. And like I said, I'm not going to go for the win, but let's get to them top threes, and we'll talk about them.
All right, well, let's talk about those top threes. Chase Elliott comes in as our favorite at plus 170. Kyle Busch is plus 180. Kyle Larson plus 200. Denny Hamlin a plus 210. Ross Chastain 250. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and Ryan Blaney all at 350. Truex and Bell 400. Logano is 500. Harvick 600. Bowman, Suarez, Eric Jones, and Bubba Wallace at 700. Cindric at 10-1. Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Dillon all coming in at 12-1.
Look, once again, I do really like that Austin Dillon bottom of that screen at double digit, 12-1. After that, Eric Jones is plus 700. I like that. If I'm going to pick between those two, I got Austin Dillon all day long, 12-1. Daniel Suarez, 700. Those are good numbers right there. I do. Tyler Reddick, 350, a little tough. The guys on the other side, it's kind of paltry at plus 170, plus 180. A little tough to take the chalk on that side, but I do like that backside of the page. Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, like a lot of those guys with those decent returns right there.
Well, and I kind of agree with you there. I think if you're going to take anybody on the left side of the page there, take them to win. Don't take them for the top three. I mean, go big or go home, I think.
Yes. Left side of that screen, go big, go win. Right side of that screen, go top three. You get a good return with it.
Yep, totally agree with you. All right, some of our longer shots for our top three finishes coming in here. I have to look and flip my sheet over here. Eric Almirola is at 25-1, along with Stenhouse, McDowell, Buescher, Keselowski, and Austin Hill. Harrison Burton, Cole Custer at 50, Ty Dillon, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie, Noah Gragson at 100-1, and I'm going to say Todd Gilliland at 250-1 since we got into the 250s last week, although I just can't see us going that far down. I think Michigan is a little bit of a different animal than the road course at Indianapolis.
Yeah, but I do like those three names again, Jeff. Look at what they did at the last race here. Austin Dillon second, Eric Jones in a Petty car, which is Petty Gallagher, which is a Richard Childress affiliate, was third. Austin was second. The guy that dominated the race, Ty Reddick, was in a Chevrolet with that. I like that. Noah Gragson, aggressive young kid who does not care about the pressure, 100-1. Justin Haley in that same equipment, 100-1. Haven't talked about him a lot lately. And Austin Hill in a full-blown RCR car. Could be guys that could make some noise. You got to throw it out there. I think those are names that could be in the conversation. You're right. Talking about, I just haven't seen Corey LaJoie or Ty Dillon do what they need to do right there. Todd, Balicki, those guys. But something right there, Justin Haley, Noah Gragson, Austin Hill, those names keep creeping into my mind that they could do it.
Well, and the one guy, and I know we have been down on this guy all year long. I think their team has started to improve slightly, but we know how important the race at Michigan always is to him. If there's a guy that's going to come off of this page, Brad Keselowski, you've got to know that he's putting a lot of effort into this race. We all know what racing at Michigan means to Brad Keselowski. If he is going to make a recovery, this is it.
Well, look, Brad's last 10 races, 6 top 10s. Brad's good. And I like, but this means a lot, especially now that he owns RFK Racing. That's going to be a really tough road, Motley.
No, I agree with you. It will be tough. Okay, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll start breaking down our odds head-to-head and our group matchups. Want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show? Check out the Gone Racing podcast. It's free and available now at VSiN.com/podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. We give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know to head to the betting counter before each NASCAR Cup Series race. The Gone Racing podcast is free and available now at VSiN.com/podcast. And while you're there, catch up on all the other VSiN shows as well. Jeff Motley alongside, not actually alongside Brendan Gaughan unless you're looking at the TV screen and our little faces are side by side. Brendan is remote this week from Florida, and we're talking the profile picture there.
With the raccoon eyes that from really, really bad right now.
Yeah, somebody's been out with his gargoyles on, walking around in the sun, it looks like. So, Brendan, we're talking about this weekend's race at Michigan, and we're getting into our driver head-to-heads. And one thing about the driver head-to-heads, we don't see a big number up there this week. Nothing any bigger than a plus 110. It's kind of, and there's really the don't line guy is Kyle Busch, and I'm kind of like, wait a minute, I get Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin all at a plus 105 against Kyle Busch. That's kind of tempting.
Yeah, but there's a reason why Kyle Busch is the don't line, second at best average finish in the last 10 races. Only behind Kevin Harvick, who had those 4 out of the last 5 wins, 4 out of the last 6 wins. But, still, you got Kyle Larson plus 105. You got Denny Hamlin plus 105. You got, that's pretty good. I just love that they keep putting Denny Hamlin versus Ross Chastain up every week. I think, to me, that's the most fun part, is that they keep putting that up there every weekend, is the head-to-head between Denny and Ross, waiting for something else to happen.
Well, and I would keep Ross on the plus line, because I think if Denny's in front of Ross, that FedEx Toyota is going to be as wide as a semi-truck for Ross to try to get around, as I think he found out at Pocono.
Yeah, I think that that it's not over between them. So it is fun having the Denny Ross, but not a lot of fun here on the deal. I mean, the only ones I could look at, Kevin Harvick is a plus 110 against Daniel Suarez. I gave you the stats. Daniel had such a good run last time. Kevin, did not have a great run at California last race, but it's still Kevin Harvick with what he does here. I can't knock that. That's
yeah, but
110.
I honestly, I guess I have thrown out every Kevin Harvick stat for the last year and a half. And I hate to say that, because we like Kevin, and Kevin's been one of the great racers. He's a Hall of Fame caliber driver. But last year and this year, look, he's 17th in points. He hasn't won a race in over a year and a half now. I'm not sure. Just don't see it coming out of that team.
I don't know. They got some shuffling in management that just happened, but I can't put it past Rodney Childers and Kevin. I'm still I was holding on to the Jimmy Johnson bandwagon longer than most. I'm holding on to the Kevin Harvick one. Come on, Harv. Get me one. I'm going to bet on you this week in a couple places.
Well, the hitch broke on the Jimmy Johnson bandwagon. I think it's going to break on this one too, Brendan. I'm sorry. I hope Kevin wins another race.
That was Jeff Motley, Motley, Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
I hope Kevin. I hope
Josh
Kevin
Jones,
wins.
Just remember, not me.
Okay, all right. But I hope Kevin wins. Right now, again, I think he's got to prove something before I'm willing to put money on him. That's all I'm trying to say.
Understood.
Fair enough. All right.
Understood.
Let's take a look at our group matchups. We're going to get right off with Group A. Group A is really, really tight this week. Kyle Busch comes in as the favorite at plus 255. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, both are plus 275. Denny Hamlin is plus 280. And we got another situation here, Brendan. We've had this a few weeks where the guy that's the favorite in the group is not the favorite to win the race.
Yeah, it's really weird. That's what we got. We go from DraftKings to Westgate here, which is where some of that discrepancy comes in. And folks, remember, at a place like the Westgate where action comes in, line changes. So maybe he wasn't originally the favorite, but Kyle Busch been bet down. And that happens in Las Vegas a lot with the Busch boys being from Vegas. So I think that you can get a Kyle Larson at 275 or a Chase Elliott 275 right there. Not a terrible bet, but Group A, just always tough to bet Group A, Motley, when it comes to a standard racetrack like this, a 2-mile with this car that, first time there. Yeah, I'm going off of the history at, from California Speedway, but it just, to me, Group A is really difficult to handicap.
Well, and I don't disagree with you, and I think almost every week we say that about Group A, but I guess maybe my only thought in this situation is seeing that you got the guy favored to win the race who is not the favorite in this group, and that might be worth trying to take a little shot at Chase Elliott. I know he hasn't won there, but I just think that might be kind of an interesting bet. Now, Group B, we've got some serious separation here. Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick are both plus 225. Martin Truex Jr. is plus 320, and William Byron, who has been really good on these type racetracks, at plus 350 is the long shot.
Yeah, that I'm looking at right there. William Byron, remember, it's all about enticing us, right? Well, is 360 enough to entice me? He was running good. We were talking off air. Tyler Reddick blew a tire at California Speedway and collected William Byron, who was running really strong that day also. So I don't dislike the 360. They're enticing me a little bit to go down that far. But Ross Chastain been tough to beat this year. Tyler Reddick coming on so strong right now. And was so strong at California Speedway. Tough to go against those two, but that's enticing. 360 in a Group B, it's got me thinking about it where I may have to jump on that number.
Well, I like the Byron thing there too, and I think the one person that I'm not going to bet on in this group is Tyler Reddick, unless you're going to go all in on Tyler Reddick this week. Tyler Reddick is 12-1 to win the race. He's plus 350 for a top 3. I got a really hard time believing that one of these 4 guys is not going to finish in the top 3. I just think there's better odds on Tyler Reddick other places that you should bet him, and I don't know about betting him here Group B. I think if you're going to take a shot, it's William Byron.
Well, and we haven't even got to the top Chevrolet, where I'm sure Reddick is not the favorite in the top Chevy. So I absolutely agree. If I'm going to bet Reddick, I'm not going to do it in the group. I'm going to do it top 3, Win or Chevy, but not there with that return.
All right, we move into Group C, very similar to Group B. We've got another one of these wide-ranging discrepancies here. We've got Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell, heavy favorites at plus 225, and then a big drop-off there. Alex Bowman is plus 315. Eric Jones with a huge number, plus 355. But this one's tough because I clearly think Blaney and Bell. I know Bowman. He has a win at Fontana from a couple of years ago, but Bowman really has struggled second half of this season. But Bell's been hot and Blaney's been pretty consistent.
To me, this boils down to: do you believe the Fords are still going to struggle, and do you believe that the Chevrolets will dominate this race? If you do, jump all over Eric Jones at 365. He finished 3rd at California Speedway. If you believe that's going to stay, there's your easy lock. If you think that. If you don't think that, well, then Ryan Blaney, is probably your odds-on favorite for a reason. And like I said, Bowman. But every time we write Bowman off, you and I, it happens to us all the time, Jeff. We say Bowman and Byron kind of disappear and aren't doing that great. And next thing you know, they go out and win a race, and we go, dang, man, every time we do it, we say that happens.
Now, if it was the beginning of the season, Brendan, and I said you've got a group with Daniel Suarez, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Bubba, and I said, tell me who's the favorite going to be at Michigan later on in the year, I'm going to bet you wouldn't have said Daniel Suarez at plus 250. I mean, it just shows how this season has changed and how guys have moved on. Suarez is the favorite in Group D, plus 250. Then it's Harvick and Logano, plus 275, and Bubba plus 290. And I'm almost not sure that Bubba shouldn't be the second favorite in this group.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to go off of that. Harvick knows what he's doing here. He had a bad California Speedway. I'm believing in Harvick. I still think Harvick's got something left in him, and Stuart Haas has something left at this track. But man, I don't know. Suarez has been so tough. The Chevys have been so tough. It's a tough group. But like I said, I would not have said Suarez would have been the favorite. I would have told you that Joey Logano, even Kevin Harvick, before he hadn't won all these races. But Suarez the favorite. He's there for a reason. But I do like that Kevin Harvick number. I just think there's something there.
One thing I like about Suarez a little bit here is he's not a plus 225, a plus 215, a plus 210 favorite. Yeah. He's a plus 250 favorite. So there's actually a lot better return there. But an interesting group that can scare you, but also give you a reason to say, oh, maybe I should go to that group. All right, let's take a look at Group E. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is the favorite over Eric Almirola and Brad Keselowski, plus 275, and Chris Buescher at a plus 280. So there's a whole pack of Fords there chasing Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Pretty close group right there.
Yeah, and it's funny. Ricky's there because he finished 11th in the California Speedway race earlier this year. So I think that's why Ricky ends up being the favorite. Brad and Chris that RFK team has just not performed at that level. Chris Buescher being the dog, though, Motley, of Brad and Chris has been by far better. So I would put Buescher at 280, kind of jump on that, or keep the favorite at Stenhouse just because of what he's done. But, man, I don't understand why Buescher's the dog there. That, to me, makes me want to bet the dog in that group.
Yeah, I kind of like that, too. And Buescher's a guy who's cashed some tickets for people this year. So, I mean, I think Chris Buescher – I like Chris Buescher in this group a whole lot.
No, and I mean, looking back at stats, I mean, forget Brad Keselowski like we talked. Eric Almirola, not a good place for him here either.
All right, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll go through Group F. We got our manufacturer picks. We'll give you our picks. Welcome back into our final segment of Gone Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan joining us remotely from sunny South Florida, or Central Florida, the Space Coast they call it down there, just south of Daytona. Brendan, our last group this week, we're talking about our Group F here. Justin Haley comes in as our favorite at plus 220. Noah Gragson making one of his rare starts this year for the Kaulig team at plus 235. Harrison Burton, fresh off that top 3 finish last week in Indianapolis at plus 325. And Corey LaJoie making a group this week, coming in at a plus 335.
Listen, Corey LaJoie finished 18th at California Speedway and had a lot of great runs. More top 15s for Corey this season than any season ever in his past. So Corey right there at 335, that's a good enticement. But I still think that Noah is going to come off the track on Saturday with that Xfinity car. The kid's going to be pumped up. Daniel Hemrick ran so good at California Speedway. This is one of his big races here. I think that Noah has a good day. I like the 235 on Noah or the 335 on Corey. Those are my 2 in that group.
Somehow, I love Corey LaJoie. He's literally one of the best dudes out there. And as a racetrack promoter, there's nobody hardly any better than Corey for saying, hey, whatever you need, I want to be there for you, but I'm not ready to put my money on him yet. So kind of agree with you on the Noah thing, but I just don't know that I'm going to go down the road of a Group F when it comes to picks. So
no, Corey's got a good number though, and Corey's been that team runs pretty good this year. I mean, you got to give it. That team this year has had probably the biggest gain. Them and Michael McDowell have the 2 biggest jumps with this new car of any organization,
other than maybe Trackhouse.
Trackhouse. Well, I mean, yes,
behind Trackhouse.
That's kind of new. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Trackhouse new, and they won last year, kind of thing. I mean, it was like but. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's take a look at some of our manufacturer props here. Top Chevy, Chase Elliott comes in as the favorite at plus 320. Kyle Larson plus 380. Ross Chastain 500. William Byron and Tyler Reddick are 650. Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman all at 14-1. Austin Dillon at 30. Stenhouse 50. Austin Hill 60. Noah Gragson, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie, and Ty Dillon all at 200-1.
Yeah, I normally tell you I stay away from the top Chevys, right? That's kind of not my thing. There's too many of them. But this week I'm worried that the Fords might be strong because it is Michigan, like you pointed out. Okay, I'm going to go with the hottest Chevy. I like Tyler Reddick at 650, 12-1 to win, 650 to be the top Chevy. He's only 325 to be a top 3. I like the Tyler Reddick hedge there. To me, that's a good hedge on my Tyler Reddick bet, where I don't have to go for him to win, just in case the Fords have the day that we think they have it at Michigan. It's a good hedge right there in the middle of the field.
No argument from me on that one, BG. I kind of am with you there. I think Reddick's a good pick there. I'll probably have a little bit to say about Reddick as we get into our picks as well. So let's take a look at our top Fords now. Ryan Blaney comes in the favorite at plus 200. Joey Logano is 350. Kevin Harvick 500. Everyone else is double digits. Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric at 10-1. Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, and Eric Almirola at 20. Harrison Burton at 50, along with Cole Custer. Todd Gilliland is 200-1.
Here is the tough one for me. Penske has notoriously done so well here. So has SHR. This is difficult. You got to think Blaney Logano, of course, going to be right out there at the top of the field. But to me, can Kevin Harvick make that comeback? There's plus 500. The Fords, to me, are tougher this week than the Chevrolets, in my opinion, just because we don't know what we're going to get from them. So I'm avoiding the top Ford this week.
All right, in our top Toyota, we don't have a 100-1 pick in our top Toyotas this week. Kyle Busch is the favorite at plus 200. Denny Hamlin is 250. Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr. 550. Bubba Wallace at 800. And the long shot here is Ty Gibbs subbing for Kurt Busch at 20-1. It's pretty heavy with Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin there.
Well, I mean, who is the top Toyota at California Speedway? Not on this field. Kurt Busch, he's out of the race. So, I mean, with Kurt Busch out, these guys did not run well at California Speedway. I think it's wide open. I know Kyle Busch is one of the favorites to win the race. Why would you take him as the top Toyota at plus 200 when he gets so much better on other things? But it's Christopher Bell, one of the better Toyotas in the field. Bubba, been running well. I could give an argument for the bottom 3 just as well as the top 3 at a better return.
Well, and I'll tell you, the guy I've got my eye on right here, Brendan, is Christopher Bell. I think he, outside of Kurt Busch, with Kurt not racing right now, I think Christopher lately has been by far the most consistent Toyota. Christopher was clearing away a top 3 car at Indianapolis last week till he blew a tire. We know how well he dominated at New Hampshire. I think Christopher Bell at plus 550, a really, really good value here to be the top Toyota.
No, so do I. I like that a lot. I can't argue your logic on that one.
Well, without getting a new winner last week, we really didn't see any real changes in the odds to win the championship. So until we get a fresh winner who I think really changes those, we're not going to really get into those until we get to our final race of the regular season and start getting into the playoffs. So for those of you looking for championship odds, I'm sure you can find them on your various apps. But right now, there's been very little change in the championship odds for a while. So it's time for us to let you know how we did last week. And, well, the pit crew.
Let's not.
It's a tough week for you there, Brendan. And here's the thing. I got to give the pit crew some credit here. Not only did they come in and win 5 1/4 units, but one of their losses, they had Austin Cindric to win Group B. He finished second in the race and lost the group because Tyler Reddick was in his group. But Brendan,
that's a bad beat right there. That is absolutely a bad beat when you get second in group, not Group A. Group B, he finishes second. He doesn't win the group. That's a bad beat. I'll give him that.
Well, Brendan, you've got some making up to do. So we're going to let you go first again this week with your picks. So let's have it.
Yeah, I definitely – look, the problem is when you get this far behind, you got to swing for some fences here, right? I mean, I got to get some numbers in, and that's the bad part is you're trying to pick that long shot win.
Brendan,
so here's what I got right now.
Brendan, let me ask you, how long you been in the casino business? Don't you love those people who are chasing their losses? Didn't you learn anything from them?
Yeah. No, and you're supposed to chip away at it. I should be picking chalk and trying to get the little wins. Not me, baby. I'm that guy you love in the casino. I'm going all in.
It's nice when it's not real money, isn't it?
Yeah. So even though we're supposed to be letting people get real money here. So I'm going to go heavy groups and one top manufacturer. I'm going to jump in and go right to Eric Jones, that Group C. I told you. Well, I like what I saw with him at California Speedway. I'm going to jump in Eric Jones at that plus 355. They've enticed me to go that far down. I wanted to do the William Byron. I was enticed, but I'm not. I'm going to go right over to Group D and just jump on Kevin Harvick. I talked about it. I'm going to believe in it. I'm keeping Kevin Harvick there. I'm going to go to Group E and Group F. I'm going Chris Buescher. I mean, Buescher has been cashing tickets for us so much lately. Buescher knows what he's doing, and he's the dog right there. I talked about it. I'm going there. And then I'm going to put my money behind my main man, Noah Gragson. He's going to be driving my beard oil Chevy in a couple weeks. I got Noah Gragson for Group F. And then I'm going to hedge Tyler Reddick. I want Tyler Reddick. I think he can win this race, but I'm going to take him as the top Chevy just in case the Fords have that day that they do notoriously have at Michigan. I'm going to hedge that and take Tyler Reddick as my top Chevy.
All right, well, with our pit crew picks, instead of me reading them, Wyatt is so excited because he did so well. Wyatt wants to read his own picks. Well, not his own picks, but the pit crew's own picks from behind the glass. Wyatt, take it away.
Yeah, great week last week. That Austin Cindric one, that's a tough pill to swallow. But for this week, we're going to go with Ross Chastain over Kyle Busch at plus 105. We're going to go Ryan Blaney top 3, plus 350. Kevin Harvick to win Group D at plus 275. I was allowed one Brad Keselowski bet, so I went with him to win Group E. And Martin Truex Jr., top Toyota, plus 550. We kind of went with guys who are kind of more desperate and looking for those race wins.
Okay, all right. And how many of those did you pick?
Wyatt's loving the TV, right? He's been filling in for us lately. He's like, hey, give me the TV time back, baby. I'm on this.
It's in his contract now. He gets 60 seconds on the air, even if he's not sitting at the desk.
Hey, you know what? All 5 picks by me. Isaiah said he loved them all.
Oh.
Wow. Isaiah vetoed a pick last week that Wyatt wanted, and believe it or not, it actually worked out for him. That it was a good thing he vetoed. So, okay, I know we're running out of time, so I've got to give you my picks. I'm going Tyler Reddick to win. Go big, go home. I got Tyler Reddick winning. I'm going in Group A. I don't do that very often, but I'm going to go Chase Elliott in Group A. I really like the fact he's a race favorite, but not the favorite in his group. Brendan, you and I are going to be together on a couple of picks here. I know you're shocked. I'm going Kevin Harvick because I'm not picking him to win the race, but I'm picking him to win his group. I'm picking him to win his group, not to win the race. I like Kevin Harvick there. I also like Chris Buescher in Group E, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and go with Christopher Bell to be the top finishing Toyota. Really like that one. So, Brendan, we got about 35, 40 seconds to go. Excited for a race at Michigan. The only time this year we're going there.
Yeah, I love Michigan. I love California even more, but I did used to love Michigan. I hope it's still widened out further. Love being up in that. Love the manufacturer pressure that comes with that racetrack. Just one of those places that was my style. I won there in the trucks years ago, Motley, and love those big, fast places like that. So mean, so fun, tough to drive. I love it.
Well, we know we're going to see cars being 4 and 5 wide coming through the turns at Michigan. Should be a great race. Everybody tune in this weekend. Watch this weekend's race at Michigan. We'll be back next week on Gone Racing. We'll break down Michigan and start talking about the short track at Richmond next week.